Manor Farm is situated only 8 miles from the market town of Dis, and is close to the village of Pulham Market, within the South Norfolk countryside. It is a Grade II listed Elizabethan manor house, which is owned by the Landmark Trust. Manor Farm was built soon after 1597, although the exact date isn't known, making it at over 400 years old. It was constructed during the final years of Queen Elizabeth I's life and reign. Some deeds dating back to 1643 indicate that it belonged to the Maltywod family. The Maltywods were yeoman farmers, which means that they owned their own land, ranking him socially between the peasantry and the gentry. They had a reputation for good living, but were also known to be thrifty and hard-working. The term manor refers to the way farming and land was organized in much of Europe during the Middle Ages. Each manor was owned by a lord, and peasants, or serfs, worked the land. In return for their hard work, the lord of the manor gave them protection and a place to live. Judging from the house they built, the Maltywods were comfortably off. A house with 8 rooms, which it had by the mid-17th century, would have been considered substantial. Over the following 345 years, the house changed hands many times, and for some time it was empty and unused. Then in 1945, it was sold to a junk dealer for demolition. Fortunately, he didn't feel happy about pulling it down. It was at this time, luckily, that it came to the attention of Monica Dance, secretary of the Society for the Protection of Ancient Buildings. She rapidly decided that her personal intervention was required, and with her husband, Harry, brought it forthwith. The Dancers restored the farmhouse lovingly and sensitively, subjecting it to the minimal of alteration. It was underpinned and the timber framing carefully reinforced where it had become shaky. The roof was rethatched with reed, plus several blocked-up windows were reopened up, and the walls were repaired with the local clay using the traditional methods. The Landmark Trust bought Manor Farm from Mrs. Dance in 1979. There were a few alterations needed to make it fit for the use of by larger numbers of people. The roof was rethatched by local thatcher Stephen Ledge, using more historically correct longstraw thatch. The building restoration work was carried out by Hoggs Builders, under the guidance of Mrs. Rolt and the architect Henry Freeland, with as much care as was possible. The Landmark Trust is a British building conservation charity founded in 1965 by Sir John and Lady Smith, which rescues buildings of historic interest or architectural merit, and then makes them available for holiday rental. The headquarters are near Maidenhead, in Berkshire. The Trust, which is a charity, rescues and restores quirky and historic buildings, and now has 200 properties on its books, which come in all shapes and sizes, and range from the ancient to the modern, which are all surprisingly affordable if you're looking for a place to stay in whilst on holiday. This area of South Norfolk has a long history with human settlements and activities, dating as far back as the Neolithic, or New Stone Age, of around 4000 BC, which is 6,000 years ago, and it all started with the arrival of farming practices from Europe. People began to cultivate crops and raise livestock, like cattle and sheep, replacing the need for hunting and gathering. This new way of life allowed people to settle and remain in one place, and this leads to the first communities, or permanent villages and houses. Over the period between the Neolithic and more modern times, East Anglia, including Norfolk, had multiple invasions from Romans, Anglo-Saxons, and Vikings. This left a lasting footprint on the region's landscape, with nearby towns like Diss and Windham that developed over centuries as important market towns or important centers of agriculture and industry, like the production of linen and cloth. After our brief one-night stay at Cavendish Hall, near Sudbury last year, the Landmark Trust allowed the Restoration Trust Manor Farm for 3 nights this year. This traditionally thatched and timber-framed farmhouse, with its lavish oak partitions and molded beams, constructed using local clay for the walls with wooden timbers to make it stronger. The doorways are quite low, and some areas of the floor are uneven, but that makes it more attractive to stay in. Once the typical comfortable home of a yeoman farmer, you can now enjoy its pretty garden and walk around the local Norfolk countryside. The many different people who called Manor Farm home had many different occupations, like weaving and milling, after the Mortywoods had moved on. In Manor Farm, you'll find a lovely open fireplace, plus there are electric radiators located around the house. There are 4 bedrooms. The downstairs bedroom has 2 single beds. Upstairs you'll find another 3 bedrooms, 2 of which have a double bed in each. And the 3rd bedroom has 2 single beds in it. You'll find 2 spiral staircases within the house. Dogs are welcome, and there isn't a mobile phone signal and no Wi-Fi, well, it is occasional but weak. You'll also find a cot. There's off-road parking, baths and a shower, as well as a dishwasher. For our stay, we got the local supermarket to deliver our food. We decided to head out for a gentle autumnal stroll prior to having a Sunday lunch a little later. We set out from Manor Farm, and walked this route following the country lanes for a little over a mile in an anti-clockwise direction. It was such a beautiful morning, and the colors were magnificent. There are many lovely walks around Norfolk, including the Boudicca Way, which is a 36-mile-long path that passes through the village of Pulham Market, running from Norwich to Diss. It is named after the warrior queen of the Iceni tribe. It follows the line of the old Roman Pie Road, and passes through farmland, woodland, and the Waveney Valley. Along the way you can experience the Roman town of Venta Icenorum, otherwise known as Caister St. Edmund, and villages like Stotesham, Saxlingham Nethergate, and Pulham Market. A few miles from the village is Thornset Industrial Steam Museum. After only just under an hour, we arrived back at Manor Farm, and we were ready for our Sunday lunch at the Crown Public House in Pulham Market. Plus, this is a great way to have a final celebration of our time here at Manor Farm, before heading back home tomorrow. The picturesque village of Pulham Market, which is located within the county of Norfolk, England, is well known for its historic charm with its thatched cottages and the village green. The Crown Public House is a 15th century inn, believed to have been built to house the workmen who constructed the village church. The Crown is now a popular restaurant and pub, with a rich history which includes being a coaching inn and post house. The village also has the Falcon Pub, a general store, a doctor's surgery, and a village hall. Pulham Market's Church of St. Mary Magdalene is a large and impressive medieval church built during the 14th and 15th centuries, which shows the wealth of the village. The village name historically was known as Pulham St. Mary Magdalene, to distinguish it from the nearby parish of Pulham St. Mary the Virgin, which was granted a market status earlier. In 1873, the church underwent extensive restoration and renovation. This is a significant point during its history, in which there were changes to the interior, including a large mural of the Ascension above the chancel arch, and new stained glass. Thanks for watching this video, and please take a look at the Landmark Trust's website for historic places that you can rent for a holiday with a difference. Please subscribe to my channel, hit the like and notification bell. And until next time, please take care.